So what happens when your spreadsheet is too big to fit on one printed page? And maybe it's just a little too big. You have just a few things hanging off the edge that are going to come off onto a new page, and that's not what you want. So what are some methods we can use to help get that size down to fit one page exactly? Well, I'm going to show you in this video. So we're going to be spending our time a little bit in our print preview section. If you remember where that is, that's in your file tab up here. If I go up there, I'm going to go down to print. You can also get here by doing a Control P on your keyboard. That's your shortcut. And then here's my preview. So as you can tell, I've got a list of all my products, and it is way too big for one page. In fact, it's going to come out on 4 pages. And look at that page 4. That's really not going to look pretty when I print that out. Well, what can I do? Am I out of luck? Not entirely. Actually, there's a number of tools that we can use to help us get around this problem. And the first thing I'm going to do is maybe I'll explore the paper orientation. So now it's landscape. Let's see what happens when I change it to portrait. And I can do that within this print menu. I'll just go to this landscape orientation button and go to portrait. That'll allow me to choose whether it's vertical or horizontal. And that actually makes it look a little bit nicer. Now I have 2 pages instead of 4. But let's go back to landscape here, and I want to explore a couple of the other options that are available to me. My favorite happens to be the scaling tool that we have available down here at the bottom of our print menu. Right now it says no scaling. It's just going to come out to 100% as we see it. But if I click on this button and I have just a little bit hanging off of that one page, I can go down here and use this option that's called Fit Sheet on One Page. And when I click on that, it's like magic. It takes everything that's hanging off by a little bit and it scales my spreadsheet, so that means it changes the size a little bit of the font and the data that's in my cells, and it makes it a little bit smaller so everything can fit onto one page. So let me show you where these tools are in the actual ribbon instead of on the print menu here. If I go back to my ribbon and I choose page layout, you'll notice my scale to fit group is right up here, and I can individually control my width scaling and my height scaling. Both of these though are set to one page because I just adjusted that in my print menu. I can also play with things such as the orientation like we looked at a second ago. I can do portrait or landscape from here, and I can also adjust my margins, and these will come in handy too, especially when you just need that extra bit of data that's hanging off to fit onto one page. Let me show you some of the things that we can do with margins. There's a couple presets we can change to wide, to narrow if we want. I'm going to go down here to custom margins and show you some of our other options. What I happen to like here especially is this center on page area in the bottom of your margins tab. This is great to make sure all the data is fit in the center, either vertically or horizontally or both on that page. So I'm going to click on horizontally here. And you also get a shortcut for print and print preview. I'm going to go back to my print preview, and now that's starting to look really nice. We've got everything fitting on one page. It's all centered. Looks really good. So we're almost ready to print this. I just want to go over some other tools that we have, like the headers and footers. It might be nice to have something on the top of our document and on the bottom. It'll just kind of go that extra measure to help make things look a little bit more professional, especially if we're going to be handing these printed documents out to people. So our headers and footers are going to be in your insert tab up here. If I click on insert, you'll notice almost all the way on the right, we've got a header and footer button in our text group, and when I click on that, that will actually open up this new tab, which is called a contextual tab. Remember what these are? These are applicable to whatever objects you've added into your spreadsheet. So I've got a header and footer design tab, and this helps me control all the different options I have with my headers and footers. And I'm going to actually take a look at the areas I have to put in data for my header. I've got an area on the left, center, and right. And if I go down a little bit, I've got 3 areas on the bottom as well, and you know what, they're not showing up right now, but I'll get to that in a second. So let's start with our headers first. I'm going to type in the name of this fictitious company here. It's going to be Pacific Fruits, and on the left maybe I want to have the current date. So that's the cool thing about this contextual tab, is you have a bunch of shortcuts here that I can just click and it's going to translate and put that item right in my header. So I'm going to choose date for the top left. And now it's not going to show up exactly as you'd like it to in this view, but that's only because it's placing a little code snippet. As soon as we go to print preview, this will actually come up as the real date here. So I'm going to go to the top right header, and maybe for this one I'll put in maybe, let's say, the page number. So there I've got the page number, I've got the date. Oh, the date changed for me, so that looks good. And my title up here. Now I'm going to choose go to footer in my ribbon. That's going to take me down to the bottom, and you'll notice I have 3 places for my footer as well. In the bottom middle, I'm going to put in, maybe this is my sales division, so I can type that right in there. I'll click on the bottom right, and I'm going to show you how we can use these little code shortcuts in addition to any text that I type in. So let's say maybe I want to do, I want to have like a page 1 of 2 or a page 1 of 5 show up in that kind of format. I can do that by typing in page. I'll type in a space, and then I'm going to put in the current page. So I'm going to do page number here. I'll put in another space, and then I'm going to click on number of pages. So that's essentially going to give me page 1 of 1 in this case, but if I had 5 pages, it would be page 1 of 5, page 2 of 5, so on and so forth. Basically how it looks right here in the bottom left of my spreadsheet. Okay, so let's check out a nice preview, see how that looks. If I go back to my File tab, I go down to Print, we should have a nice idea of what's going to come out. So there's my headers. You can see I know it's a little bit zoomed out, and that's okay. You can still kind of make it out. I've got my date in the top left, my title in the top middle, my page in the top right. I've got my sales division in the bottom middle, and page 1-1. Actually, I just noticed I made an error there. I wanted an of in between, so I'm going to go back to my home tab. I'll go into my footer here, and I'm going to type that word of, so that shows up. If I go back to my print preview, let's see if it came up. Yeah, that's looking a lot better. Okay, so those are your headers and footers. You can also do some interesting things as well in case you didn't want to have your headers on the first page, or you wanted to have a different header or footer for an even or odd number. You can control that. As long as I click back in my header or footer, I've got my design tab that pops up, and I can choose right here different first page, which means all the headers that you apply are going to show up on the first page. They'll show up for the second page and every page after that. And also the different odd and even pages, you can use that to give a header for the even pages and a separate header for the odd pages. So you can play with those controls too. Lots of options you can have fun with there. I want to show you the last 2 options in this video that we're going to cover, and we're going to just check out what kind of options I have to display on my sheet. Now I can do that by going into my sheet options, and that's going to be, again, actually let me get out of my headers and footers, go back to my page layout tab, and right in the center here next to my scale group I have the sheet options group. And a lot of times I get this question, some of the learners will ask me, well, I see all these boxes on my spreadsheet, right? And they're referring to just, basically these gray lines that outline every cell. These won't appear by default when you print. However, in the case you do want these to show up, I can always check the box here next to print. So when I go to my print preview, I'll get a nice idea. Let's just check that out right now while I'm talking about it. You'll see any area that I have data in, it's also going to print that kind of perforated line around each cell. So if you prefer that to show up when you print your spreadsheets, you can check that and turn it on. I also have the option to turn them off even when I'm just viewing my spreadsheet. So you can use that as well. It's sometimes nice if you're working on forms and you don't want people to see all those grid lines, you can turn those off. Okay, I'm going to keep mine on though, and you may notice that we're also in a different view. Somehow I got bumped into this different view when I was doing my headers and footers. Don't worry, because we can always go back by going to our view tab up here, and you can control your views over here in the left hand portion of the ribbon. We'll just go back to normal. That should get us back to our default view. Okay, fair enough. So those are some of the tools you have at your disposal for helping everything come out when you print it and looking fabulous. Make sure to explore, have fun with some of the options, and play with them until you get the look that you're exactly going for.